All right, so let's go ahead and walk around this. So for this one, I'm going to give it a bit of a stroke. I am going to remove the fill color that you're looking at. So for this stroke, I'm going to give it a linear stroke, right? So for this one, let's leave it as much as 100. But for this one, let's change the color to, let's use something between E4, 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 E4. But let's increase the opacity to, let's just do it like this. So I'm going to turn off the fill color so you can see what we have done now. So let's give it a corner radius of 8, right? So at the same time, I'm going to take my frame, a rectangle, and I am going to create a bit of rectangle here. Then the corner radius, I'm going to give it a 24. No, that's too much. Let's give it a 16. All right, I think we're headed somewhere. But before I continue, I'm going to give this frame here, the frame itself, I'm going to give it a bit of an effect. Let's give it a drop shadow and give it the X, let's give it a -11. For the Y, let's give it a 25. Okay, so let's change the color to a 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Right, but we're going to reduce the opacity a bit. Right, the blur, I'm going to make the blur as much as 100. Right, so let's try and see what we have created so far and see what it looks like. Let's close our grid lines. So this is what we're aiming for. Let's change this to white. Okay, no, sorry. Let's change the rectangle inside here to white. So the intention is to place images here and some text to call out what we're doing. So I'm going to take this text here, and I also want to put a call to action button. All right, so because I want to place a call to action button, let's try to reduce this a bit. So this call to action button, let's take this one for starters. So I got an idea to kind of use a skeuomorphic button around the sections here. Let's say the company is let's say this product, I'm going to put image of mobile applications, right? Let's call this SaaS products, maybe designs that have to do with SaaS products, right? So I'm still going to maintain this as a dummy test. We can change this when we're done. Let's say view products. Let's call this view products. Right. So I think I have a working frame. I'm just going to duplicate this across into 3 places here. And I'm going to select this first one, select the second one, select the third one, and create an auto layout. Make sure the spacing between it is 32. And I'm going to center it here. All right, so let's try to duplicate this, right? Select the both of them, create an auto layout. The spacing of 48 is good. Spacing between these two, let's give it an 80. All right, so we're done with this section. The next thing we're going to do is more like meet our people, the people that make up the brand, right? But for this section now, there's something unique I feel like creating, but I'm going to use lines, right? So I'm going to, once I click on line, I'm going to hold on to my shift key and I'm going to create a line. Then I'm going to hold on to option key and I'm going to duplicate it. Select the both of them and create an auto layout. Then click the drop down within the auto layout frame. Select the first one. Then click Ctrl D. Then it's going to paste accordingly. Now you understand the difference between grouping an item and creating an auto layout around it. Auto layout gives you lots of flexibility to do stuffs. So this one, let's give it an 80. The spacing, no, let's make the spacing a 92. And that's too much. Let's say an 88. All right, so I'm going to center this a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these lines here. and I am going to reduce the line a bit. So what I'm going to do again is to expand it. I want it to fill this section here. I think this can be achieved with, let's give this a 90. This is still too much. Once I do this here, I think I need more rectangle, more lines here. So I'm going to Control C, Control V, or Control D. Then I'm going to select the frame and I'm going to reduce the line spacing to 64. Let's see what I have. Then I'm going to create more lines here. All right, let's try to make it a 60. Now let's leave it as a 64 and just reduce one of the lines here. Let's make sure this is aligned to the middle. All right, so I'm going to ungroup this now, and then right click again and select group selection. Then I'm going to click on L on my keyboard for another line. I'm going to hold on to Shift and I'm going to create a line around this. Then I'm going to hold on to my Option or Alt key and I'm going to duplicate, select the two of them and hit Shift A to create an auto layout. Then once I do that, I'm going to go to the drop down for the frame around the auto layout, select one of the lines and I'm going to click on Command D or Control D just to duplicate as many times as I want. But I'm going to reduce the spacing here now. Let's give it a 44. Let's say 46 because I want it to feel 47. I want it to feel it very well. Now we have this, but as you can see the title of our frame. It just shows you that it is not within the parent frame, maybe this frame or the desktop itself. So let's find it. This is the desktop we're working on. This is the frame itself, so I'm going to put it in here. All right, so I have this and I have this frame. Let's find the frame. This is the frame, this is the group here, so I'm going to put it into my frame. But I'm going to right click and ungroup this, right click again and select group it. Now select the first group and the second group, and then I am going to group everything. So I'm going to click on K on my keyboard just to scale it a bit so that it's going to cover all sections. So once I have this, let's make the spacing between the 280. And I'm going to make sure I center this. So this is just like a design thing, you know, just to provide some form of something aesthetically pleasing. So I'm going to take this section here. I'm going to duplicate it and put it here. So let's just try to reaffirm that we provide services providing training and support to designers worldwide. So I have this. I'm going to center align this, make sure the spacing from the top and up 72. Now let's make it a 64. All right, I think we're making headways. So the next thing we're going to do now is to create like this section here. So I'm going to go to the ellipse tool here, click the drop down, select ellipse, and I'm going to hold on to my Shift key to draw a perfect shape. So let's just give it as much as a 6. So I want to work within my grid lines, so I'm going to put this on here and I'm going to make sure that this is on my grid. Let's create as much as a 6, 2, 4, 6. Select everything here. I'm going to select it, hold on to Shift, select the second one, select the third till I select all of them. Create Shift A, reduce the spacing to be 32 and center align this. Now let's give the spacing a 36 and let's center align this. Wow. So here is going to be where our images are. For some reason my pixels are not loading here, right? It's not loading. So before it finished, if it's going to load, I am going to create a section. This section is more like, let's say, a welcome speech by the founder or the owner of the brand, or a picture or a video confirming or reaffirming something to the clients, right? So far so good. This is what we have created. I'm going to present this, and we have this already. So I am going to create a frame, a rectangle here, really. Then create a rectangle within the grid lines here. And let's just make sure that the spacing here between the two is 40. Let's give it an 80. Alright, we're going to round the corners to a 16. No, not that, this one. Let's round the corner to a 16. Right, so I'm going to take the same thing that I have here, and I'm going to drag it here. But for the ellipse, right, I'm going to give it a color, a black color, but I'm going to give it a linear effect. Let's just do this here like this, a linear effect. So the polygon, let's change the shape, the color to white. I'm going to keep this here. Okay, let's try to do this like this. I'm going to select the two of them, hold on to my shift, select the ellipse and the polygon, and right click and create a group selection. So I'm going to try to center this now. So let's try to visualize what we've done. Okay, so we are here now. I'm thinking, should we add a darker image here section? Okay, so yeah, let's try to add something dark around this section. So I'm going to click on drop down for frames, and I'm going to add a frame around this. I need it to just be darker. I'm going to click on F, and I'm going to I'm going to give it a linear fill. So let's change the color to 1E, 1E, 1E. So let's see if it looks a bit different. Okay, this is great. All right, so at this point, we can bring in our image here. Let's go to image. Let's find an image here to place here. So I'm going to bring this here, and I'm going to place it here. But for this one, I'm going to hold on to K, and I'm going to reduce it. This is okay. So let's try to make sure the spacing up here is 52. I'm going to reduce this frame a bit. I'm going to click on V, reduce this frame just a bit. Let's make this a 52. All right, I'm going to reduce this with a 1 inch. Okay, so let's just leave it like this. I think we're good to go. So this other section should be like let's say a testimonial, or what people are saying about us, right? Let's just try that. I'm going to use the same thing that I have here. Okay, let's just drag this one. I like this one. I'm going to paste it here. Make sure it's center aligned. Make sure the spacing between this frame and this one, this something is not inside our frame. So let's bring it into our frame. So let's make it an 80. All right, so let's just say this one, what people are saying about us. So for this one, let's say we will definitely exceed your expectation. We will definitely exceed your expectation. Right, so this is good, but I want to reduce this frame. I want to bring this out here. I don't want the dark section again going down, so let's maintain this. Make sure the spacing is 80. So what are people saying about us? I'm going to use this kind of frame here. I'm going to click on F on my keyboard and I'm going to draw a frame. So I'm going to focus on just 3 grid lines here. Let's give it a feel so we see what we're doing. Let's change the color a bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give it an effect. Because we are working on a white background, I also want this to be a white background. Let's first give it a corner radius of 16. We've been using 16, right? This one was an 8, so let's leave this as an 8. Work on this, but you know what, we can actually use this frame that we have here. So I'm going to click on Ctrl+C to copy out everything, and I'm going to paste here. So let's try to walk around this, right? You can see that we can't see anything. I'm going to open up the fill. Then that rectangle that we have in the middle, I'm going to change it to this color 1E, 1E, 1E. All right. Okay, so let's increase the opacity. So we also have some text here, right? So let's say this person used mobile app design service, right? So I'm going to change it to a 1E, 1E, 1E. Then increase the opacity. So let's remove this, ungroup this here. Let me change the color to 1E, 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 and increase the opacity. Increase the opacity. So let's try to reduce this to a 16. So it's a rating card, and I'm going to go to star here, and I'm going to hold on to my shift and draw a star. So let's say this person rated us a 5-star. So I'm going to select all of it by holding on to shift and clicking on each of them. So what size do I want? Let's give it a 16. All right, so I'm going to create an auto layout to give it a perfect. Now let's give this an 8. All right, so for stars, for ratings, we usually use this color. You can copy out the color code, right? So let's say what would the user say? Let's say their service was one of a kind. I have recommended my friend's website design to them too. So let's go and reduce this here. We're also going to reduce the font. Let's go as low as 812. I have also, let's remove this. Do we need this? No. So maybe I'm going to duplicate this text just to fill this section here. This is okay. So I need this text to, I have also referred my friends. This might be okay. So another thing I would like to do now, I'm going to select this one, select this and create an auto layout. Then I'm going to select this one, create an auto layout, but the spacing I want here would be a 32. No, that's too small, 24. Too much. Let's make it a 16. All right. So I want to put a card here. I'm going to go to rectangle here and I'm going to choose a card. This will be the user's image. It's going to be here. I want to place the user's image here and a little more about the user. So the spacing from this section here is 16. I think we can leave it at 16. Then on the top is 48. No, let's make it a 32. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's try to increase this a bit. So this upper section here is going to be a section for my image here. So let me just darken this section a bit. This is going to be for my image. Then maybe write the client's name here. So I'm going to right click and select bring to front because it went to the back. So let's call this person Pamela or Harry. But let's reduce the fonts too much. We don't want to lay so much emphasis on that. Maybe we can make this a medium. Then let's just give the person, what's the person's title? Let's say the person is a CEO Game Labs. So this color, we're going to change the color. Remember I have a color style here. So let's change the color to this one here. All right. And I'm also going to reduce the font to a 12. Select the both of them and create an auto layout. So let's try to reduce this frame now. This rectangle, so rather. I think we're good to go. So we can go ahead and duplicate this into 3 places. Select this, hold on to option and move it around. Then I'm going to select all of them by holding on to my shift and right clicking on my mouse. Then I'm going to click shift A and I'm going to center this, but I will make sure the spacing is 32. Remember that our gutter spacing for this grids is a 32. So the spacing between these two should be an 80. Make sure this is aligned to the middle. This is also aligned to the middle. So right now, since we're done with this, let's see what we have done. So I am going to just do a preview here. So far so good. This is what we have. We're going to add images just with time. So this next section is more like a contact us section. So I'm going to reuse this text here. I'm going to type contact us. Then I'm going to make sure I center this. Make sure the spacing between this and this is an 80. All right. So I just want to have more like a form that kind of tells users, please type here. So right, I'm going to click on T on my keyboard and I'm going to type my name is. I don't want that thing going on here. This case starts making my first cases an uppercase, making my first letter an uppercase. No, I don't want that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to I'm going to try to reduce this font to a 32, and I'm also going to make it a medium. So I'm going to duplicate this and make it a 24, and I'm going to type enter your name. So I am going to change the color for this here to this color that we used here. But I'm going to go and make this irregular. All right, so this is one. So I'm going to select 2 of them and create an auto layer because I just want to use it again. Just edit it. So the next one is let's say we want to collect user's phone number. Input your phone number so that we can contact you, right? I'm going to tell users to enter your phone number. So I also want to use this section here. But let me put on my grid line so I know where I'm placing everything. So this one is here. I'm just going to place this one here. So this one should be ideally, I work at enter your company. So let's say my email, we also want to collect the user's email address. My email is, so we just tell user enter your email. Right, so after phone number, so users can type their message now. Message. So I just tell user type your message here. So let's try to create an auto layout here, create an auto layout too. The spacing is 56, spacing here is 52. So which one should we go with? Let's say a 52. So let's select the two, create an auto layout, right? Snaps right in. Select this one, create an auto layout too. And then make the spacing an 80. Okay, that is too small, too much. Let's make it a 64. No, let's make it a 52. That's what we used here. All right, I'm going to align this now. The next section here will most likely be a social proof before we have our footer. Like always a take-home work, right? So for this one, we're going to go back and add images here, but your take-home work, I already prepared these sections here, this section, the footer and the social proof, more like connect with us on our social media pages. So I'm going to make this, let's make this a 120. So I'm going to center this, then I'm going to drag out my frame here, and I'm going to put the footer here. So I just use a footer that just some regular, you can see the all rights reserved here, the logo, then the company's mission, contact us, mentorship, then also contact us, your LinkedIn profile, some of the social media icons, and hello dreams. Though this is not exhaustive, right? So you can also liaise with the company to determine, okay, what are those key things that they want to include at the footer. So the footer should contain things like additional navigation links. I have some of it here, like my mission, contact us, mentorship, company's email address. A footer can also have the copyright information, which is what I have here. Then other legal details, let's say privacy policies or anything, right, that can indemnify the company in regards to anything. Yeah, that's it for starters. So for this section now, what I want to also, I'm going to select everything here, create an auto layout, select this section, create an auto layout. Make sure the spacing between it is 64, which is okay. The spacing for this one is 80. I'm going to create an auto layout, by hitting Shift A. Then I'm going to make sure the spacing is just a 120. Then for this footer, it's the constraint, I've left it at the bottom, so it's going to stay at the bottom while so if I increase this, it reduces a bit, it's still going to stay at the bottom, right? So what else do we want to achieve now? Maybe, for this section, the company does even more than mobile application. Maybe there's web application design, so we can create room for it at this section here. So let's try to add images. For the images, I've been trying to load my pixels, right? So I had to restart my laptop, and let's see. Okay, so we're going to find an image that says UI UX design. Let's see if we'll find. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to use like random pictures, right? And when you're making your own design, try to take your time, find a picture that speaks to UI UX design, UI UX research, right, and add to it. So but I'm going to try as much as possible to find something. But again, when we're finding when we're looking for pictures, it's advisable to use pictures that are of the same style, right? So if this one is much or more of white background, the next picture should have some sort of same style, right? Rather than, let's say, finding a picture that is all black. You get, it doesn't really say the same thing. So maybe I'm going to use this all black concept, and I'm going to, this one is user research. So let's say UX research. Sure, I'm trying to find an image that kind of has the same photography style with this one. So again, so let me see if I can work on this so that it will be a bit darker like this. I'm going to reduce it to the contrast, bit saturation. No, let's leave saturation. Temp. Nah, let's not touch temp. All right. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Then which other thing do we have? Audit. Let me see, website audit. I'm going to use this one too, but I'm going to change the work on the image a bit, just reduce the exposure and reduce the contrast a bit. All right, so let's not waste much of our time. I'm going to select this and I'm going to paste here. Now let's paste to replace. So if you're replicating this design and you're sending to me for review, please replicate, take time and find an image that says that and that speaks to what you're trying to put here. So for this particular one, I was very intentional about it. I'm going to get a mock-up, right, for some designs that I've done in the past. So this is a, so I'm going to chuck it in here. Then I'm going to take this one too. I'm going to place it here. Then this one too, I'm going to try to place it here. So let's try to reduce the padding around these images. Let's give it an 8. Around this frame, let's give it an 8. I'm going to do the same for that other one. I'm giving it an 8. So all these designs that you see here, they're all up on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to place the link. You can watch it and recreate the tutorial and create a mock-up for it. I also have a tutorial where I created this type of mock-up. If you like a tutorial where I created this type of mock-up, leave a comment below for me. All right, so for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this section because I want to add that this company is into web design too. So I'm going to, I've ungrouped this section, right? Let's try to bring down our designs just a bit. I'm going to take this down and I'm going to increase this a bit. Bring this down to select all of this. So let's try to select all of this here. Right click and group it so that everything moves at once. So this one, I'm going to bring it down. And I'm going to select this one here and I'm going to come here. For this one, I titled mobile. I'm going to say web. Then let's make it all cap. Then this one, I'm going to call it website design. All right. So let's try to work on the spacing now. So the spacing between this one and this one, let's give an 80 is great. So we have an 80. So this one, let's make sure it's centered. The spacing between the two, let's work with an 82. Then I'm going to go and get mock-ups now. So let's see where this one falls in. Let's see, spacing is 80, good. This other one, let's see the spacing 53. Let's see the 76. Let's move this a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the spacing now is an 80. So let's try to center this. I'm going to center align this again, and yeah, I think we're getting there. So let's try to reduce this a bit and then push this, make sure it's 80 and make sure it's center aligned, and then go ahead and reduce the size of our frames. All right, so we're going to bring in some frames here for that shows that is a website design. So all the frames or all the designs I use here are actually designs that I've created and is on my YouTube as a tutorial, so you can watch it and create it. Yeah, but what I want to do is just to give this section a linear effect. I like having that, but that doesn't mean that you can just use it anyhow. You can see the way I'm using it is not, I'm not abusing it, because I know many people will start giving all their designs a linear effect. Oh my god. All right, so let's do this. So I'm going to I have the image here, so I have this image here already, this desktop here. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here. So how I got this size is that I scaled it down with the scale tool here. Just click on K on your keyboard or click on this drop down and select scale. So let's try to center align this. Right, so let's also use this one. I'm going to paste it here. So the reason why I added that effect you're seeing is because the background is white, right, and the design here is also white. If I place it like this, you can see there's some contrast. It's not like there's an accessibility issue. Users can really see what I'm showing them. So that is why I created that effect, and it's not like because I like creating linear feel or something. So remember that you can customize all of these things that I have going on, like some of this text that I have going on here. You can just customize it to suit the brand or whichever case study you would like to embark on. So without me doing this twice, I'm going to copy that first one, right click to paste to replace. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to paste this one here. So I'm going to select the design, web design I brought in, hold on to shift, select the rectangle there, and I'm going to try to align it very well at this section. Also, yeah, I think our design looks great. I would like you to try out now is the buttons. So I don't want to work with these buttons, right? I want to work with the schematics button. I have a tutorial where I created that kind of button. So I'm just going to find it here. I think they're all here. I'm going to replace it with what I have. So where I have contact us now, I am going to come here. I clicked on Ctrl Z to cut it, and I'm going to come here to Ctrl Z to paste it, to replace. So I also have this. I'm going to click Ctrl C, and I am going to right click on my mouse, paste to replace, because I want it to be replaced. I kind of use a different font here. can make this a 16. So let me change it from this place. Let's change this to a 16. Let's change it to a 16. I'm changing it from the component itself, right? So what else do we have? So I also have buttons here that says place another, but these ones are not fully rounded, so let's round it up to a 24. So let's find the frame, round it to 24. Let's also find the frame and round it to a 24. Let's find the component, round it to 24. Alright, so I'm going to copy this now, and I'm going to start replacing all these buttons. I think I wrote place order there, and I wrote view product here. So let's try to center this. I think the size of button is okay. The height is 42, the width is 131. So let's just work with that. But I just wanted to show you the concept of a skeuomorphic button. But you can go ahead and maintain the other buttons that I have that we created, right? So once we're done, so I just wanted to show you something really cool that you can achieve with this skeuomorphic effect. Paste to replace. Alright, so let's play our design so you can see what we're doing, what we have done so far. Let me play it here too. Alright, so on this preview section, right, this is what we have. So you can see if I hover my mouse around this, it changes and it has its own feel, right? So that's why I use that kind of button. Right, so let's see it on a larger screen. So another thing I wanted to create, or an effect animation that I wanted to create, is this. So I'm going to duplicate this, hold on to Option key and drag this out. Then I am going to change this one. Just going to rotate it to this section like this. No, that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to rotate this one like this. Just drag it down a bit. Let's remove it from this frame. So let's remove it from the other frame. So that it will not be going into the frame, I'm going to lock it here. Select the other one and lock it. Then I'm going to place it like this. Make sure it stays at the back of that frame. Then for this frame here, you know I locked it, so I can't move it. So I'm going to unlock it. Then I am going to remove the bends it has. Let me see the grid lines. Let's make it. Click on K on your keyboard and make sure you align this. So let's give it a 120. All right. So let's try to reduce this a bit. So let's see what I want to achieve. So I'm going to go to prototype and I'm going to select this, right? So I'm going to set it at after delay. Then I'm going to set it as navigate to, let's say, smart animate. Then I'm going to set it as slow. So let me show you what this effect is. You can see how it works now. So let's try to play it here. Let's restart this. Let's play this design. So that's the effect I wanted us to achieve, and that's why I didn't group this element. So if you group it, you're not going to have, if you group these two things or create an auto layout with it or group it, you're not going to have that effect. You're not going to achieve that effect. So let this be a starting point. Let's increase this so we can see it. Let's redo this. How cool is this? All right, so try to replicate the design and send it across to me. Your take home is to design this section and create a perfect footer. Okay, so there's a section we need to work on. This section here, we need to add images here, and we also need to add images here. So I'm going to select this one of the ellipse, hold on to my shift key and select all the ellipse that we have here. Right click and then go to plugins and select pixels, and I'm going to choose insert random image, but ideally it's supposed to be images of people, right? So if you have time, just find ideal images of people and insert here, because this section is more like the team, the company's team, right? And so let's also add an image here. Right click and then go to pixels. Let's find any image at all and add here. I'm going to do the same for this one. I am going to do the same for this one. So yeah. All right, thank you for watching. See you next tutorial.